Okay. Hey guys, how you doing? For another live hangout after a fantastic weekend of USMNT action. And not just USMNT action, we've got a lot of action in the comments already, which is awesome. Good to see you guys showing up early. Carter, Joe, Cole, Josh Simmons, Akshay, all of you guys, Mapled, and we have Nicholas Bauer, the troll, in here as well. So it's going to be a fun live hangout. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to do Q&A as usual, but also I want to talk a little bit about some of our players and their best positions and rounding into form. Hey, Simon, how are you? Kevin, how you doing? Owen, Dean, all of you guys. Good to hang out. Carter with some wise words. No better way to cap off a great weekend for the USMNT than an 11 Yanks live stream. How you doing, Kev? Elias, Tanner, how are you? All right, good to see so many people in here. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's review real quick the weekend. We had a Daryl DK goal, his 8th goal since he joined Barnsley in 14 games. Okay, we got a Pulisic brace, which was probably one of the highlights of the weekend. And not just a brace, but a really strong performance throughout the game. Hey, Daniel, no, you didn't miss much yet. We just started literally 2 seconds ago. So, yeah, we had not only a brace, but a very good performance from Pulisic. And then we had a Gio, very good performance and assist and a heavily involvement in Dortmund's second goal as well. And then we had we had a McKennie goal off the bench for Juventus. And then we had a Brian Reynolds start. Wasn't the greatest start, but still, we're developing depth. And, 3 or 4 years ago, if you had said we had our third choice right back starting for Roma, we would have bitten your hand off. So, all right, real quick before we get into it, I wanted to show you something here. I wanted to just talk a little bit about tactics. Okay, so this is technically our lineup for the USMNT. Can you guys see the board? Let me know if you guys can see the board. Hey, Carla, good to see you changed your name. Let me know if you guys can see the board, okay? Because I want to talk a little bit of tactics before we get into stuff. So I don't know if you can see it. It's the first time I'm trying to share. Good. Joseph says we can see it. Great. So this is technically our formation / possible lineup for the US, right? And it's a 4-3-3 in principle, at least. Now, I don't have a problem with this 4-3-3, and I think we will probably use it throughout qualifying. My only question is the personnel that you're using in this 4-3-3 and why it may work, but it may not be the best. It may work, but we may not be putting the best players in their best positions to be successful, and here's why. Okay, both Pulisic and Reyna are, what do we call it? Tucking inside. Now, that's how a lot of people see it. But in a 4-3-3 like this, when you have 3 midfielders who are more pressing midfielders than creative midfielders, you actually want these guys making runs in behind. That's ideally what you want. And I'm not sure you're going to get that from either Pulisic or Reyna. Pulisic is more likely to do that. It's not Reyna's strongest game. He's more likely to come inside and try to be involved. Now, the whole idea behind that is then you have Dest and you have Robinson coming up the field. Now, if you watch Dest play, he is not a fullback that goes around the outside and puts crosses in. Okay, it's just not his game. Whether he's playing on the right or whether he's playing on the left, what does he do? He cuts inside. Okay, that is what Dest is going to do. He's going to want to cut inside. Then you have Robinson, who is the kind of fullback that fits this system because he is going to bomb down the left wing and try to get onto the end of through balls and put crosses in. Pulisic is probably going to come inside more, although he has been known to make late runs into the box. Sargent is a good option up top because he knows when to come deep and when to stretch the back line. But when you have this kind of a formation, now you have McKennie and Musa playing here, you leave a lot of room for midfield conglomeration, where basically everybody globbles up in the midfield and nobody's stretching the back line, or at least not a lot of people are stretching the back line. And the reason I bring this up is because what we saw from Pulisic today and what we saw against Northern Ireland was him playing very, very central. But in order for that to work, either you have to play him as a central midfielder and maybe add some more creativity in the midfield, or you have him play in a 3-5-2 formation. Now, if you're going to do this, you get rid of wings, okay? Now, in a situation like this, very likely you would put Reyna in midfield, and then you remove Musa, and you bring on another defender. Let's say Richards, okay? So now you've got a 3-5-2, and I've talked about this before with Fillipo, and I've talked about it on other. But the beauty of Pulisic's positioning is it's really a free role as a second forward. Okay, you've got Sargent, who is going to come deep, so he's going to occupy your back line. Let's get some defenders on here. What I really like about a free role for Pulisic and what we saw, and I'm going to put a video on Patreon, guys, with clips from both this game and the Northern Ireland game of why Pulisic is so good in the middle and why we should definitely consider that an option going forward. Pulisic can play what I call between the lines. So if you have an opponent with 2 lines of defense, Pulisic is very good at occupying these spaces. It's very hard when you have players like Pulisic to defend them this way because the defense doesn't want to step to him and leave space in behind. And these guys don't want to fall back too deep and leave space in front of them. So it really creates these little pockets of space that Pulisic can exploit. Now, the beauty of this 10 role or this second forward role is that not only can he play here in these pockets, he can also drift wide if he wants. It isn't a static role. He has the liberty to roam. It's sort of a roaming forward. Pulisic can go and get the ball where there is space, and then once he has the ball at his feet, he has the freedom to run at defenders. And I think that's something that will really, where he can be really effective. This also allows us to get a little bit more creativity in the midfield with Gio Reyna, guys. And I think that's going to be important. It also covers, as I've said before, for the defensive weaknesses of both Serginho Dest and Robinson. We saw Dest against Real Madrid again. We saw it against PSG. When Dest faces the highest teams in the world, he still struggles defensively. Now, he's young, okay, because he's going to improve over time. But right now, that is a real question mark for us, okay? And I just wanted to highlight it because I do think a 3-5-2 is better than the formation that we saw in the past. I think a 4-3-3 can work in CONCACAF, okay? But I don't think it's the best option for us going forward. I think we'll win games with it, but I don't think it will be when we go to a World Cup or even when we play Mexico. I don't think it's our best option, okay? All right, we got a couple questions here. Frank Kassler. I think I have to stop sharing the screen. Here we go. All right. I'm going to go find this. Where is it? There we go. Nope, that's the one. All right, just got here and see the 3-5-2. EPB over Miazga. I'm not sure I agree with you there, Frank. I think Miazga, I don't love Miazga as a defender, but right now I trust him more than EPB. EPB needs to get out of Austria or get to a better team where he's going to be challenged a little bit more. Now, I haven't seen a lot of EPB in Austria, but what I have seen, I wasn't extremely impressed by. I don't think he's a finished product. He's still young. I would still probably rather have Miazga. But for me, if we're going to play a 3-5-2, the back three should be Aaron Long, John Brooks, and Chris Richards. So with Chris Richards playing on that left center back role, and then John Brooks in the middle, okay? All right. After that, we have another one here. Thank you, Frank. World Cup qualifying team. Stefan, Robinson, Brooks, Richards, Yedlin. Okay. So Yedlin over Dest and Reggie Cannon. Interesting. Adams, McKennie, and Musa in midfield. Pulisic, Sargent, and Dest. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're using Dest as a winger. I think it can work. I'm not sure it's his best position, though. Unless you're using this as a 3-5-2. I don't think you are. Brooks, Richards, and Yedlin. No, it looks like a 4-3-3 you got going on there. I think in a pinch it could happen, but I think you have guys like Luca De La Torre and Brendan Aronson, Uli Yanez, other guys who can play wide. So I don't really see the need to bring Dest further forward, and have him play as a winger. Okay. Thank you, though, S27. Cole, Darley, what do you think is Pulisic's ceiling? Can he become a top 5 or 10 player in the world? I feel like he could. Yes, he could, with two caveats, Cole. The first one, obviously, is his injuries, right? He's injured way too much, and he needs to figure out why. Now, here's the thing. Pulisic, the other thing that he needs to work on is this. When he's on fire, when he's confident and he's in flow, he looks world class, right? Like we saw him against Crystal Palace yesterday, just completely dominating that game with running with the ball, arriving late to score goals, playing through passes for teammates, very technical, beating his man. And then when he's not confident or when he's not quite in form, it's really low. To be a world-class player, he needs to find an equilibrium. So when he's not in form, he still has a good average level where he's still playing well. And then when he's on fire, he's unplayable. Right now, it's too up and down. Now he's 22 years old. He still has time to develop it, and a lot of that is up here, okay? But in order for Pulisic to be world-class, he needs to develop that side of his game. So he can't be up all the way up and all the way down. It has to be good or great and then amazing. That's what world-class players do. Even when Kevin De Bruyne has a bad game, he still sets up 3 chances for his teammates and hits the post. You know, like that's what Pulisic needs to find if he's going to be world-class. And obviously, he needs to stay healthy. All right, Yilang Vang. What do you think about USMNT with no real striker like Chelsea played today? 3 mobile forwards, Reyna, Pulisic, and XX. We have too many good forwards. You know, you have to see who's available. You have to see who you're playing. What is the game state, right? We have, you know, Josh Sargent, Tim Weah, you know, Jordan Sibachu, Daryl DK seems to be improving very quickly. You know, even Nico Giawacchini, guys like that are getting better and better. You know, Matthew Hoppe, we don't know how good he is until he plays for a team that starts giving him actual chances to score, you know? So I don't know if playing without a striker is really the answer, to be honest. I think if anything, we need strikers who are going to play further up the field and are going to push the defense line, because when you push them, you give space for your midfield. When you have your false 9 defender dropping into midfield, and then you've got these 2 forwards who also want to come in midfield, and then you have Dest who wants to come in midfield, it gums up the midfield. It becomes easy to defend. You'll have lots of possession because you have the numerical advantage in midfield, but there's nobody running to stretch the back line, so there's nobody you're hitting with through balls. So I think you need a guy. Honestly, if we're going to play a 4-3-3, I would bench Musa. I'd put Gio Reyna in the middle because all of his best work comes through the middle. He can play on the right. We've seen it before. Good players can play in other positions, but his best work for me is in the middle. And then you have a Tim Weah, who literally that's what he wants to do. He wants to make runs in behind and stretch the back line. So I would play like Weah, Sargent, Pulisic if we're going to play a 4-3-3 and just add some creativity in that midfield with Gio Reyna and then Weston McKennie. Not that Weston McKennie is not creative. It's just not the strongest part of his game. You know, he's more of a box-to-box midfielder that can arrive late to score goals. So that's how I would play it. But again, against most CONCACAF teams, I think we'll be okay with Gio Reyna tucking inside with Pulisic. But I don't think we should play with no forward. I really think we have enough good forwards to play with them, you know. Christian Astorga, you stressed, Pete? Your eyes look a bit baggy today. Guys, my baggy eyes, it's been a problem for most of my life. It's not going away. If I'm even slightly tired, it just, you know, I can't really do anything about it. I've tried eye creams and all kinds of stuff, but can only do what you can do sometimes. All right. Let's see. Thank you, by the way, Yilang Wang. Appreciate it very much. What have we got here? Apply more foundation. When I'm on set, Joseph, I do. All right. Why are people under the impression that Reyna is someone who's just going to consistently unlock defenses? I don't know who has that impression. I don't have that impression. But I've noticed that, okay, when you watch Reyna receive the ball, he doesn't often lose it. And very often he turns into space, okay, and then finds somebody with a pass. Now, that pass can be incisive. That pass can be vertical, sort of penetrating. It can also be a sideways pass or a backways pass. Now, the problem with a guy like Reyna, when he does that so consistently, what do you want to do? You want to give him options. If he's receiving that ball in midfield, he can go 4 ways with that, okay? He's got both sides. He can go back to the guy who passed it to him, or he can turn and play it forward, which is one of his strengths. But if you play him on the right wing, you've limited those options to 3, okay? He can play it to the left. He can play it infield. He can play it backwards. And maybe he can play it forward. But now all you need is somebody standing on the touchline, and it's much harder for him to play it forward. So you've just cut his options down from 4 to 2. Now, it's not that he's going to be consistently unlocking defenses. He's 18 years old. He's going to have ups and downs. And I'm not even saying he should start every single game or that we should build the whole team around him. But you look at a guy like Reyna, who, for me, is our most creative midfielder, okay? So I would play Reyna in the middle. I just don't think Greg will. I think Greg wants Musa in the middle. I have reservations about Musa, okay? I think he's a good player, but I think he's too similar to Adams and McKennie. And I don't know if you have balance on the team if you play him in the middle. I also think that if you watch that Northern Ireland game again, you'll see how frequently Musa gave the ball away, and he wasn't always able to be creative and incisive with it. But he's also 18. So, you know, the future is very bright, and there's a lot of room for growth for both Reyna and Musa. And it's a good problem to have, right? If we have Musa and Aronson and DK coming off the bench when we need a goal, I mean, what a great trio to bring off the bench. Long are the days when, you know, we had Landon Donovan on the left wing, and then if he got injured, what was his name from Houston? Brad something. We took him to the World Cup in Brazil. Does anybody remember his last name? Brad something. I don't remember. It's Brad something. If someone remembers his name, let me know, and I'll get into it. Okay? But thank you. Evan Schaefer. Do you think Luca De La Torre could move to a top 5 league soon? And what type of team would you like to see him at? Evan, yes. If he continues the form that he is showing for Heracles, or however you pronounce that, then yeah. And I would like to see Luca De La Torre go to Spain, La Liga, because I think that fits his game. He's very technical, very good at the ball with both feet, able to control it under pressure, use his technique to get him out of pressure. And I think Spain is a good place for someone like him. Whereas in England, like we saw him with Fulham, he never got a shot because in England, we want the hard man, mate. Yeah, get in, you know, and if you don't have that, unless you're elite in the world, then you struggle in England. But I think Spain would be a good place for him. Thank you, Evan. All right. Julian Pinto. Where'd it go? Hey, Julian, how are you? Have you heard of Peter Stroud? Yes, I believe Peter Stroud is the midfielder who plays for Norwich's academy. He's American. Or is it West Ham? I think it's West Ham's academy, Peter Stroud. But he hasn't made his debut yet. I think I'm right about that. I've never seen the kid play, so I don't really want to comment on how good he is. I've heard some good things from some people. Some people say not much there. So, yeah, I have heard of him, though. I try to keep track of most. Brad Evans. Thank you, Jonathan Walker. Brad Evans. Yeah, we had, or was it? No, it was Brad Davis. Brad Davis. Thank you. Brad Evans was a right back or a defender. Brad Davis was the guy. And you know, I remember Brad Davis because we brought him on several times during the World Cup as a left winger. Big drop off from Landon Donovan to Brad Davis. Okay. Whereas now, if Pulisic gets injured, and let's say Reyna's on the right and Pulisic gets injured. Either we put Reyna on the left and then we put Weah on the right, or we bring on Brendan Aronson or Luca De La Torre. Now that gap is much less, which is what we want, developing depth. Look at Brian Reynolds today, right? People are like, oh, he didn't play so well. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but he might be our third or fourth, probably fourth choice right back right now. So if our fourth choice right back doesn't have a great game for, you know, his debut for Roma, it's okay. We're developing depth, and that's what you want. If somebody's injured or suspended or out of form, you know, then you're okay. So that's a really good sign. Okay, what's your opinion of Robinson right now? Everyone was quick to write him off initially, but he's put in some great performances for Fulham this year. Yes, he has, Alex. I think he's unfairly rated. I still think he struggles defensively against elite wingers. sort of like Dest. He's not as good going forward as Dest. He's not as technical, but he's been competent and he's been decent. And I think for CONCACAF, I have no problem with Robinson. Now, what we have to figure out is come World Cup, let's say we qualify for Qatar, how can we enhance what Robinson does well? And the same goes for Dest, and cover for their weaknesses. That's all really international management is, right? How can you take the best group of players, not play them in such a way that highlights their strengths and covers for their weaknesses, and also allows them to shine, and it makes them really the coaching is about, in my opinion, is about taking a group of players and making them greater than the sum of their parts. So a bunch of good players, and they're not just good because all of them are playing together. As a team, they're better than they are each on their own, if that makes sense. And that's, you have to figure out with tactics, motivation, inspiration. A lot of things go into setting that up. So that's what we have to figure out if we don't have another left back who's challenging Robinson by then. You know, that could be someone like, I don't know, George Bello. George Bello is one of the guys I'm going to watch this season because I think he's somebody, not that he's ready to challenge Robinson, but I think he's a better backup for Robinson than Vines. Or if Brian Reynolds continues to improve and becomes a great right back, now we're more comfortable with Dest on the left because maybe Reynolds will be better than Cannon in 2 years. We don't know. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. So we'll see. Devin Billings. Hey, Pete, I'm worried about center backs. I feel like that's where we are weakest. Thoughts? Can we protect them with tactics? Yeah, Devin, we definitely can protect them with tactics. And I agree with you to a point. I think our center backs are fine for CONCACAF. You know, maybe Mexico's a different story. But really, I'm not so much worried about our center backs as much as I'm worried about our defending as a team. Okay? And I think I've said this before, but for the longest time, the U.S. has been a bunker and counter team. We sit back, we defend, and we try to hit teams on the counter or maybe get a set piece. That was our identity, and it did well for us. We're trying to change that identity to being a attacking, possession-based team that dominates games. And all of us agree that's a good thing. The downside of that is when you lose possession of the ball, you have to be ready to defend the counterattack. Now, whether that is through a gegenpress, so being able to press the ball right away when you lose it to prevent the counterattack, or being able to cover and drop in a cohesive way that is fast enough to stop the counterattack, there are ways to do it. But you also have to think about when you're going forward, are you vulnerable to the counterattack, right? So if you have Dest and Robinson all the way up the field, and you've got Reyna tucked inside next to Sargent and Pulisic's there, and then, you know, Weston McKennie goes on one of those insane dribbles, maybe you've got Tyler Adams protecting the back too, but our flanks are exposed. So maybe depending on who the opponent is, if we're playing Jamaica and I'm Greg Berhalter, I tell Dest, listen, when Robinson's flying up the field, maybe you hold your position a little bit, okay? Or Musa, maybe you don't go up if Robinson's there. You sit next to Adams and help shield that back line a little bit, and then maybe you guys slide over to the side that Robinson is bombing up to protect from the counter, and vice versa. So there are ways you can do it tactically. To be fair, if you look at the last 4 senior friendlies where we had the first team, the goals that we conceded, apart from one goal against Panama, okay, we didn't concede a goal against Wales. We conceded a goal against Panama early on, and then after that, we didn't concede. Oh, yeah, we did. We conceded late, but that was after a raft of substitutions that changed the game. So I'm not too worried about that. Same against Jamaica. We conceded that goal late after a raft of substitutions changed sort of the makeup of the game, and it's hard to be defensively cohesive when they do that. And then the same against Northern Ireland. So I want to see us in Nations League and see how cohesive we look. Thank you, Devin. Andy Garcia, thoughts on CCL performances? I am going to get into this in just a second. This is a bigger topic, Andy. Let me go and talk about, get some questions that I think I've missed here. Because I do want to talk. Okay. Cole Darley, where do you see Conrad De La Fuente factoring into our future plans? I see a lot of technical ability there. Could be a class winger in a couple years. Okay. Yes, you know, very technical, very good with the ball at his feet. Still needs to improve in certain areas of his game, but I think he could be huge. I think he needs to get out of Barcelona. If they're not going to play him because he's trapped between he's not quite first team material yet, but he's also not, second team material either. He needs to find, maybe they need to loan him out to, let's say, I don't know, some team has a winger who's not performing, say Real Betis. I don't know if they have a Mexican winger there who maybe isn't performing at his highest level. Maybe, someone like Conrad de la Fuente could come in and perform. Okay. But yeah, I think De La Fuente could be huge in the future. He's still very young. He was still eligible for the Under-20 World Cup this year. So huge future. Tactical manager, Fillipo, what are you doing, man? Come get on the stream. Let me know if you want to get on the stream, Fillipo. I'll send you the link. We have 2 U.S. players in La Magia. You want to come on the stream live, dude, and just tell us who they are? I'll send you the stream if you want to. I don't know if you're busy or if you're with Mariana or what, but if you want to come, I am emailing you now. Come tell us about these kids in La Magia, and then I'm going to answer, what's his name? I'm going to answer Andy's question. Andy Garcia, thoughts on CCL performances? Okay, very good. I mean, in the past, we saw the first game from American teams was not very good because they still looked like they were in preseason. All the games were away, okay? So we were in Central America, we were in Mexico. I believe 2 teams got draws. Toronto got a draw, and then Portland got a draw against Marathon, which a 2-2 draw away, that's 2 away goals. That's great for Portland. A draw in Mexico, in Leon, was excellent for Toronto, even though Josie Altidore limped out, holding his hamstring. And then everybody else got wins. Crew with a resounding 4-0 win away. Atlanta wins 1-0 away with 10 men. Good on them. I mean, this is what we want to see. The next step for MLS is to compete in CONCACAF. And to be fair, they have been competing. They just haven't won. We need to be winning in CONCACAF. And it's a good start, but let's see. Until we start facing the Liga MX teams, it's hard to know how it's going to go. I think Fillipo and I are actually going to do a video about this together after this next round of games, and see who gets through. And then we're going to talk about the options. But by the way, Columbus Crew looked really good. We don't know if that's going to translate long term, but he does look good for sure. Dakotas, Simon, how are you? Okay. Let's see if Fillipo shows up here. Blanco at Saprissa is now labeled as dirty. Josie's injury was Twellman's fault. Oh, Josie. Man, that one made me laugh. That one made me laugh. Okay. Let's see. Let's find ourselves a good question here. Joshua Simmons, did you see the challenge that got DeAndre Yedlin injured? The referee's excuse was disgraceful. I did not see that game or that challenge, but I will go watch it now. Orlando Mejia. Sardes is world class. He should start for USMNT. Trolling, are we? All right. Blanco, did you see the challenge? Where to go? De La Fuente should just leave Barca. He's never going to be good enough to get minutes for them. Well, Isaiah, I don't know about that. He might be good enough. He's so young. Like you can't pigeonhole a player this early on and say he's not going to be good enough for Barca. He might be, but even if he's not good enough to start every game for them, he might be good enough to be a squad player. All right. Filippo's here. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Pete. Just got home.
Okay.
Let me see. Talking to one of the viewers.
We're having a lot of fun on a good weekend. 2 goals from Pulisic, a goal from McKennie, a good assist and good performance. More than the goals was the performances of Pulisic and Reyna were really encouraging, No,
all of them. There was actually who else played very well DK kept scoring. That was also important as well. DK. Reyna finally got an assist, started playing well, even though he played as a winger. He did very well once again. And Pulisic, I said this. Pulisic's going to have a better ending to his season than Lozano had all season.
I'm sure the Autry fans loved you for that.
Like the New York Cosmos retro Pele jersey.
Wow, that's a throwback, huh? Throwback to Pele. 70s. Tell us about the 2 kids over at La Magia. Who are they?
So One of them is a goalkeeper. They're both the same age. I forgot the name of the goalkeeper because I'm not very interested on him. La Masia is not really known for developing goalkeepers anyway. But the other one is Adrian Simon Gill, and he's a central midfielder. He starts for the U16 or U15 right now. Style of play very comparable to, and please, not saying he's Iniesta, okay, before anyone calls me on it, but very comparable to Iniesta, one of those midfielders with a nice futsal vibe that holds the ball very well. And Adrian Simon Gill is his name. I believe he played also for the Catalonia national team. I know they're not registered in FIFA, but they do have a national team, and he played for them. They're actually pretty competitive. For many of you that don't know, for example, Piqué, Carlos Puyol, Xavi, Iniesta, all played for Catalonia at some point.
When they were very young.
Yeah. So he's a player to watch out for. Central midfielder, player to watch out. Very, very technical. I mean, from La Masia, he can't be a bad player.
So a technical player is basically a Jason Kreis favorite, no?
Yeah, if we have Jason Kreis, he's definitely going to call. I'm looking forward to seeing Inter Miami this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's not coach. I guess he's assistant coaching. Phil Neville's coaching. They have a lot of Brits. They got Ryan Shawcross and Kieran Gibbs and Phil Neville. And I can't. Why? Why would you get a bunch of washed up Brits for Inter Miami? Like, that team is in Miami. It's Colombians and Brazilians and Cubans, but instead you get Kieran Gibbs and Ryan Shawcross.
What about the DP situation? I'll let you go to the question, then go to the DP situation they have right now.
They have 4 DPs, right?
They have to get rid of one.
Yeah, they have to get rid of one, and they don't know who it's going to be because Blaise Matuidi all of a sudden is a DP, right? As we've learned. But that investigation, by the way, if you want to know more about that investigation, guys, go listen to Paul Tenorio and Sam Stagecall's podcast. I can't remember what it's called. It's under the Total Soccer Show umbrella, so they have it. It gives you a lot of insight into these back deals, like backroom deals in MLS, if you're interested in that. Okay, from Dominican Stud, Jeffrey, how are you, man? Friendly reminder that Gold Cup and Nations League are whack, and that 6 CONCACAF teams should always go to Copa America like in 2016. Yes, I agree with you, Jeff, but we haven't won the last Gold Cup, and we still haven't won the Nations League. And right now, the U.S. needs to regain, or at least gain its spot at the top of CONCACAF and say, here we are, we belong, we are kings of CONCACAF. We shouldn't talk about anything else as far as South America until we do that. We need to beat Mexico in the Nations League final. We need to beat Honduras. It's not going to be an easy game in the semifinal, by the way. Honduras is a tough team to play. So that isn't going to be easy. And then we need to try and beat Mexico in the final. And then we need to try and win the Gold Cup. And then we need to try to top the group in World Cup qualifying. Then we can say we're kings of CONCACAF, and we can start talking about competing in South America, which, by the way, I agree with. I think we need better competition. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe it will happen in the next cycle because there won't be qualifiers because we'll be hosting. So I can see Canada, the US, and Mexico, and then maybe Jamaica going to Copa America. I hope so, because that's what we need. But I think for right now, the goal should be become the dominant power in CONCACAF yet again. All right. When do you think players like Pulisic and Reyna will hit their primes, and who has the highest ceiling? Ooh, that's a tough question. Typically
the prime part is easier.
What?
The prime part you can kind of guess. Prime.
Yeah, usually it's between 25 and 30. I think based on his injuries, though, I think Pulisic might kind of be entering his prime now, because Pulisic's game is based around explosiveness, right? Yes, he's very technical, but his ability to explode past players is the key to his game. And if his hamstrings keep getting injured, that's literally the key to your explosiveness, or your hammies. So if your hammies keep getting torn, he's going to lose that. And if he loses that, 28, 29 years old, if he keeps having these injuries, we might see a shell of Pulisic by that time. So this is just speculation, though. I don't know for sure. But generally between 25, 26 to about 30 is the prime, especially for an attacking player. So we have another 10 years easily with both of these guys, maybe more for in Reyna's case at least. All right. Where are we?
When I think, Pete, I don't know if you would agree with this. I think if they both reach their prime, obviously during the 25s or whatever, I think Reyna would likely last longer. He doesn't rely on his athletic ability as much as Pulisic.
Yeah, yeah. He's more of a. They're different types of players, right? Pulisic is going to be more ball secure. He's got better vision, in my opinion. Not Pulisic, Reyna. Better vision and a little more ball secure. But Reyna doesn't have Pulisic's explosiveness, the same amount of explosiveness to go past people 1v1. He can do it. We saw him do it just this weekend to set up Dortmund's second goal. But it's not something that is as much a part of his game, which is why I think he's more of a roaming, creative midfielder. We had the discussion, Fillipo, I don't know if you saw it, about where Reyna should play and why it may not be his best position on the right. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that.
I mean, you mean why he shouldn't play as a right winger?
Well, why it might not be his best position. Like, I think he can play there. Good players can play in multiple positions, but I don't think it's his best position.
I think it goes back to the same reasons Brazil shifted Kaká to the middle, right? So in AC Milan, they would play Kaká wide, and he was still good because he's that good. But when you put him middle and he's facing the goal, he has those good long shots, has good vision. He can distribute the game. He can create plays. He can break the defense. While when you're wide, usually you need to have some explosiveness. You have to be more of a go at the player. I think it's exactly the same reason. And that's what you were pointing out about Pulisic. Pulisic is a go at the defender player. So he can play wide. He can play as a second striker. And Reyna's quality, so he will function well anywhere. But towards the middle, but I would like to see him as an 8 eventually, kind of like a Kevin De Bruyne role eventually.
Right. But an attacking 8. People say, oh, the 10 is dead. You know what I mean? It's like, first of all, they don't use the 10 as much anymore. But that's part of the reason for that is that they don't create 10s anymore. Okay. Most good 10s were created on the streets. And in Europe, you know what they're doing? They're getting them at 5 years old into academies and training them to play in a system. So they don't have the same like Riquelme style 10s that they used to have. That's part of the problem.
It also has to do with the fact that teams defend nowadays with 9 players. Back in the day, you had 4 guys that would stay ahead of the ball line. Now you have usually 9 guys, regardless of your team, behind the ball line. So you can't have a 10 just waiting there in the middle like they used to, just the center forward.
Right. And also that 10 has to work, right? Work to press, work to defend, you know, so that's part of it. And part of it is pressing, right? Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, like the Germans and, you know, even the Spanish to a degree when Guardiola was coaching Barcelona, were all about pressing and gegenpressing, which is counter pressing when they lose the ball, you know? But like football also goes in cycles, right? What's popular now, 5 years from now, the 10s may make a comeback, right? Because you're always adapting and adjusting to the opposition. So the opposition does something, you adapt. When people learn how to defend the gegenpress, we might see the return of 10s. And there's no one size fits all. You know, we have to do what's best for our pool and, you know, what's best for us. Thank you, Aaron. Pulisic equals Robin from S27. Yeah, I can see the comparison. Not quite as old looking as Robin. Robin at 20 looked like he was like 40, you know. But I
think Pulisic can go both ways, though. I see Pulisic going left and right. We didn't see that much for Robin.
Robin was a cut inside. He was on the left and then cut inside onto his right foot. Yeah. Thank you. S27, what's your actual name, bud? Mike Baker, how are you? Another Patreon supporter. And guys, I was going to say, I'm going to put a video on Patreon of, I was telling them before, Pulisic against Northern Ireland and against Crystal Palace, because he played as a sort of second forward, very central, and why when he plays between the lines and has the like freedom to roam, why he's so effective. Michael Baker, thoughts on Kobe Hernandez-Foster or Chris Gloucester developing into the second left back spot within a year? Ooh. So we have 2 problems. One, Chris Gloucester has not made a lot of progress, right? Couldn't even start for PSV's second team in the Dutch second division. Now that tells me at 21 years old, I'm not sure, you know, how that's going to go. Now he's come to NYCFC. I think that Chris Gloucester is a competent left back, but that struggles to really affect a game. We saw him do okay at the Under-20 World Cup, but that's not always an indicator of future success. I think there are other higher ceiling left backs. The problem with Kobe Hernandez-Foster is that Wolfsburg are trying to turn him into a 6, which I don't agree with. I don't think he's a 6. The reason has been made to me that he's not fast enough to be a left back. I disagree, but I'm not there seeing him in training every day. The other problem is Wolfsburg doesn't give opportunities to young players. They don't, and they're not very good at developing them. So I don't know why these guys keep going to Wolfsburg. They have no record of player development. Look at Michael Edwards. After being there for 3 years, had to come back to Colorado and is not even good enough now to start in Colorado, has to go down to USL. Uli Yanez, we all know his struggles up there. Now they've got Brian Kao and Kobe Hernandez-Foster there, and they don't play anybody who's under 21 years old. So I'm not sure that Wolfsburg is the best environment for Kobe Hernandez-Foster, but time will tell. I could be wrong. I don't think either of them is going to break through in the next year. I think more likely we are to see George Bello, possibly the kid who plays at Louisville. Do you know the left back who plays at Louisville? His brother plays for Porto. He's a dual national. Johan Vasquez, I think, is his name.
Yeah, but you think he could become the second? I think if we had to bet money on one becoming the second option, it has to be George Bello right now.
Yeah, not within a year. Definitely not within a year. He's going to Europe probably next year, but I can't see him becoming the second left back now. Right now, we don't really have one. I think George Bello is the best option. We all saw Sam Vines, guys, at the Olympics, and he's not 18, 19 years old. He's 21 or 22. Jonathan Gomez. Thank you, Joshua Simmons. Yeah, Jonathan Gomez is the left back at Louisville. So I think George Bello is one to watch to back up Anthony Robinson.
Well, right now it's Dest.
Yeah, right now it is Dest. I mean, that's just the truth. At least we think it's Dest. Now, would Berhalter bring Sam Vines to the Nations League? We don't know. Yeah. All right. This guy's been talking shit, Johnny Dangerfield, about all kinds of stuff. Are you Canadian, Dangerfield? Because you seem like you really like Canada. So if you're Canadian, I'm going to tell you this. Canadian fan, you have something to say, Fillipo?
Put it on screen, though. I can't see it, Pete.
I mean, I haven't seen, I've seen a bunch of his comments, but I don't have, his latest comment. Dangerfield, you guys have never, haven't qualified even for the hexagonal in 10 to 20 years. So Canadian fans need to relax a little bit, forget about a World Cup, get into the octagonal first and try to be competitive. Because yes, you have a few good players. Your defense is still terrible, okay? And a lot of your other players who are playing at a high level are aging. So the Rangers guy, 32, 33 years old, for example. Yes, you have Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies, but you can't rely on them. So I think there's some potential, and I hope Canada keeps improving. But for me, they're still behind even Jamaica right now, and probably Costa Rica in terms of actual strength and ability. So calm down. We all want Canada to improve, but you're not there yet. First, focus on getting into the octagonal, which you haven't done yet. And then once you're there, Alphonso Davies is a superior player than your little... Oh, he's trash talking. All right, buddy. Well, looking forward to seeing you in the octagonal, and hopefully we'll be able to teach you a lesson. It's nice to have one or two good
Alphonso Davies is benched in Bayern, by the way, so...
Yeah, but they need... I mean, if you're Canadian, think about it. Your history in soccer is so sad. You have to hold on to anything, right? You have a few... And I'm glad for them. They need... I want Canada to be competitive in this region. We need more competitive players, but they have a long way to go to actually be competitive in the region. So let's wait and see. All right. Jamaica are going to be good. Yes, I agree. Jamaica has a lot of good players.
They got Nathan Redmond today.
They got Nathan Redmond. They got Mikel Antonio. Did they get even Tony? They did, right?
Oh, I think Mikel Antonio is injured, so we might not see him in the Gold Cup. I think he's done for the season. I don't know what's the injury, but yeah, he didn't play for West Ham today. And they said he might be done for the season. If he doesn't play the season anymore, he's probably going to rest during the Gold Cup.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Jamaica still has problems with their federation too, but they are recruiting a lot of really good players, which I'm happy to see. Like I said, we want more competition in the region. Devonta Jones. Julian Green has more World Cup goals than Canada. Yes, he does. So does every single American player. All right. Let's see here. What else do we have? Do you have anything you want to talk about? I'm going to try to answer a couple questions here. Thank you to everybody who donated, guys.
I wanted to talk about. Let me see. Did you touch your point on Zardes after last week's hype?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Zardes. But before we do, guys, go like the video. I forgot to say that at the beginning. Hit the like button. It helps other people to find us. If you're not subscribed, if you're just here for the hangout, welcome. Happy to see you here. Let's talk a little bit about Zardes. 2 more good goals, or decent goals, rather.
No. One was given. One was given.
I'd say both of them were given. But yeah. So 2 goals against Real Esteli, and Twitter erupts with the reminder that Zardes should be our number 1. Okay. Zardes is very, very poor technically. We've seen this over and over again. His first touch is very poor. What Berhalter taught Zardes to do when he was at Columbus was to cover up for his technical weaknesses with really good off-ball movement, okay, and some decent finishing. But what we've seen from Zardes over and over and over again is that works in MLS. And that can work at some very low levels in CONCACAF. But the minute you up the level where you need actual skill and ability on the ball, that's where Zardes is not good enough, in my opinion. So for me, he is 4th or 5th currently on the national team depth chart for the striker. Where would you put him, Fillipo? Or rather, who would you put ahead of him?
I would put right away Sargent, no questions asked on that right there. Siabashu, I would put ahead of him as well. Today, I would also go with Daryl DK ahead of him as well. Yeah. As more mobile even up top at this point, making good runs and facing tougher defending than the MLS right now.
And more dominant.
I want to say Hoppy, but at the same time, Hoppy is benched at Schalke, very young, inconsistent. So yeah, I could be okay with Zardes being option number 4 probably.
Yeah,
I think 4 is fair.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that he a 4th option is good for Zardes. Now, we're not Greg Berhalter. Berhalter might take him to Nations League, and we'll see how he does. You know,
some people said Tim Weah, but I think Tim Weah is the winger for the USMNT.
I think Weah is more of a winger. I think I think in a pinch he could play as a center forward, but I do think he's more of a right winger who's going to make those like slashing diagonal runs in field and finish. What about Joe Aquini? I mean, Joe Aquini is an interesting player because he's being used poorly by FC Caen in the French 2nd division, but his first game for the national team, he scores twice. Okay, now, yes, it was against Panama. At this point, I wouldn't put Joe Aquini over Zardes. I want to see more of Joe Aquini. He had a good start, still has a lot. You know, I need to see more of him before I evaluate him as a player. You know,
so I saw some comments saying about there's no way Siabashu is better than Zardes. He's not proven another league and all that. But look, even the little bit we saw from Zardes, we saw that he's more technical than not Zardes. Sorry, Siabashu is more technical than Zardes, and that's our point with it. And we can't really say he's not. Yeah, he's not proven in a tough league. He plays in the Swiss league, but he did perform in the Europa League versus Bayern Leverkusen. So I don't know if Zardes would be able to do that.
Yeah, and the thing is that what Sibachu does is he occupies defenders, right? Because he's like DK. He's not as physically dominant as DK, but we saw this against Northern Ireland, for example. You know, he not only lays the ball off to Pulisic with the outside of his boot, but at the same time, if you watch that goal in slow motion, he's pushing the center back away from the ball, which gave Pulisic time and space to go 1v1 and then get fouled, right? And that is really what you want. You want someone who can occupy the defenders to create space. Zardes does not occupy defenders. They're not worried about him that much, you know? So I just think Sibachu is ahead of him, in my opinion.
Well, and Zardes is not proven in a top league as well.
Yeah, he's never left MLS, right? And I mean, look, I put something on Twitter and I said, we don't know how he'll do against good opposition. And then somebody corrected me, and actually they were right. We saw Zardes against Mexico last year for 75 minutes, completely anonymous. We also saw him against Mexico in the Gold Cup final, albeit as a sub. He came on for the last half an hour, completely anonymous. Okay, that's who Zardes is. All right. Will the U.S. ever produce a Leo Messi type by 2026? You want to answer this one, Fillipo?
2026. Let's just go one thing here. First thing, Messi's one of the best ever played a game. No, by 2026, no, not a chance. One day, have a player that could be top 10 in history of soccer. Maybe one day. 2026, not a chance.
Yeah, and also, like, he's an outlier, right? If you look at Messi, it's not like Argentina's producing a bunch of Messis. You know what I mean?
He is one of those. They did 2 in history.
Wait, what?
They did produce 2 of him in history. So Maradona.
Yeah, in history, right? So in the 80s was the last time, you had Maradona. And then, Messi in the 2000s. But it's an outlier. You just don't know when that's going to come up or when a player like that, big clubs like, big teams, Germany, England, France, they don't produce Messi and Ronaldo level players. Even Brazil.
What countries have? Brazil, Argentina.
They're special, Portugal. Those 2 guys. I think we're going to look back on this time and how lucky were we to be, soccer fans at a time that both Messi and Ronaldo were playing. Like, I don't think we realize how fortunate we are. They are out of this world, both of them, especially Messi, though. Messi he's something different. He is magic, So, all right. But yeah, we would love to bruise. We don't need a Messi type to win a World Cup, right? What we need is 11 Kylian Mbappes or, Robert Lewandowski's or, Kevin De Bruyne's or Neymar's or, you know what I mean? That's what you need to win a World Cup. You don't need a Messi necessarily.
Messi never won one.
No, he did not. Okay, so yeah, I would like to have one, but I'm not counting on it, and I don't think we will, no. All right, what else have we got? Keep those questions coming, guys. Thank you, Aaron.
So, P, I think we should address one of the David Nicholson. He's a Jamaican fan. I'm waiting for him to report. Did Jamaica offer a passport to Messi as well? You guys just offering it to everyone right now.
Well, to tell us who all they actually confirmed got now, because I keep hearing, they're getting this guy, but I've never hear confirming reports. So, Nicholson, if you can confirm with like a link or something that these guys have committed to Jamaica, that would be helpful. Because right now it seems like a lot of confusion about who is actually playing for them.
Let's talk about Alex Maiton.
I was going to say. Okay, I've never seen him play, so I can't really comment on him. Have you seen him play?
I've seen a little bit. He's a left winger, and he's a lefty left winger. He's very technical, very fast as well. Scores goals for Nottingham Forest. But this is one thing I wanted to tell everyone. Look, we're probably not going to get him. He's very hyped there. He played for their U19. He got minutes. He looked very happy. You go to his Instagram. He only has England stuff, pictures of England. And I think he played a youth tournament for England, so that means he would have to file a one-time switch if he did play. I think he did play. We're likely not going to get him. If we do get him, it'll probably be when he's 24, 25, and he sees he's not going to play for England.
Yeah, and by that time, we may not need it. If you know what I mean? Exactly. By the time he's 24, 25, we may be having enough players. To be honest, if we go into World Cup qualifying with Pulisic, Reyna, Weah, and Aronson as the 4 wide players, I'm happy with that. I really am, So, yeah, and we're going to continue to develop players. Watch MLS. Okay, let's talk a little bit about MLS 2021. I'm going to give you guys my top 10 young players to watch, like Americans to watch in this season, because the season has started. We're all excited. We love MLS, even though some people think we don't. I'm excited specifically for the young players that are breaking through, and I'm going to give you my top 10. Number 1, David Ochoa. Just for me, somebody I want to watch. I think he's got a very high ceiling. What I want to watch especially is, can he mentally get over the mistake he made against Honduras? Okay, because if he comes out with the same confidence and the same swag and the same performances, then he's strong mentally. Players who crumble after a bad mistake are weak mentally. So we need strong ones. Number 2, Caden Clark. Okay, I'm going to, very excited about Caden Clark. He's the 10 we should have had in Guadalajara, but very high ceiling. It's his last year in MLS, and then he goes to Leipzig. What do you think? Fillipo, what's somebody else? We'll go back and forth. Give me somebody that you're looking forward to see.
Number 3 that I'm looking forward to seeing this year, I am looking forward a lot to Gianluca Busio, and he had a very good preseason with Sporting KC. So Busio, I'd put him there at least as a top 5 to watch out for.
Yeah. Okay, good. My number 3. Okay, one sec. We'll go back and forth. My number 3 is Cole Bassett.
I thought I was saying 2.
Oh, okay. Like you've got Busio and Bello as your first 2?
No. My first 2, I agree with you, but I would just switch the order. I'm more excited for Clark, but I would switch the order. So I'll go with those 2, and then number 3, I'll go with
Busio, and then 4 is Bello.
I would go with Bello.
Okay, my 3rd is Cole Bassett. I just think he has a lot to offer as well, and he's very underrated because he plays in Colorado. Isaiah Paskins. Yeah, Isaiah Paskins. We may not love Acosta or Vines, but we do love Bassett. So yeah, I'm excited to see him. And then who's your number 5?
I had him in my head right now. They're saying Patrick Roy. Who did I have number 5 that I wanted to see this season? Paxton Pomykal coming back from injury.
Yeah, really, like I said, most complete American midfielder in MLS, in my opinion. Just injured so much. My number 5 was George Bello. Said enough about him. We know who he is. He's extra interesting because he's in a position of need, right? He might not be a world-class left back, but he's in a position of need, and so, he gets extra attention. Paxton Pomykal was my 6th. Who's your 6th?
Does he have to be American? Or can he be in between?
I guess. If he's a dual national.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Efrain Alvarez, too. I kind of want to see how he's going to play out this season.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting choice that he makes, like whether he goes with the U.S. or Mexico. I'd like to have him.
How he performs. What? How he performs as well. If he's going to start.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, if he, I don't know if he's going to start. A lot depends on his work rate and how Greg Vanney sees him. Because, LA Galaxy is an open question. We don't know how Greg Vanney is going to have them playing. So it's going to be an interesting. I think that Efra's a good player, and I'd like to have him. I won't be super disappointed if we lose him. And honestly, if the kid is smart, he'll have an easier time breaking into Mexico's team than he will breaking into the U.S. long term. That's just the truth. Tanner Tessman was my next one. I think that Tanner Tessman is a very strong 8 and didn't get enough time in Guadalajara. Who's your next one?
Andres Perea from Orlando City. Many of you probably don't know because it's not on TV, the preseason games, but Pareja has been putting him as a center back as well. So I want to see if he's going to be able to be versatile enough to play in the midfield and as a center back. And I'm looking forward to Perea this season. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see, especially if he plays as a center back. That's where we don't have enough depth coming up through the ranks is center back. So if Andres Perea can convert into a really strong center back, then maybe he could be an option for us down the line. My next one was Paxton Aronson. So Brendan Aronson's little brother. We saw a really good preseason goal from him where he basically dribbled through half the defense and scored a sweet goal. We did not see him in the CCL, not even on the bench. So I don't know if he was injured or just not ready. I'm not sure, but I would like to see him more this season. I'm going to be watching him very closely if he does play.
I'm going to go now with an option because of what you said, too. We need center backs. I want to see if Abubakar Keita will start playing a little more for the Columbus Crew.
Yeah. One of the few left-footed center backs that we have in, coming up through the ranks. So it probably isn't going to start for them. They've got Mensah and Williams, I believe, as their starters. Mm-hmm. But he's probably the first option off the bench.
Tight calendar, though. We could see more minutes with the tight calendar this year.
Yeah. Staying on with the Crew, Aiden Morris. We saw him as a 6 in the MLS Cup final, right, last year. And then we saw him start again in their 4-0 win against Real Esteli. And I think he's somebody to watch, especially because we still don't have a full-time quality backup for Tyler Adams, right? We're still like maybe Cardoso, maybe Otasawi, maybe Jackson Ewell, Perea. You know what I mean? We're still like nobody has really made their mark and said, I should be the backup 6. So somebody to watch for sure.
What am I at, 9 or 10 now?
I am at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done 7, so this is your 7th.
My 7th. I'm gonna go, and I think he's a dual national. Okay, so if I am saying this stupid, correct me right now. I want to talk about Edison Ascona from Inter Miami. I think he's Dominican and American.
Yeah, he's both. So some people have said we should recruit him. I almost feel bad for Dominican, man. Like they finally get a good player, and then we take him from them. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
hey, it's their problem. And look, Pellegrini might not be able to play because of the DP player issue. So that opens a left winger position, and he might get more minutes. Ascona.
Yeah, someone to watch. I wouldn't be a huge fan of trying to recruit him from Dominican Republic. I just think we have other players, and Ascona Dominican Republic deserves at least one good player. But yeah, that's a good shout. My next one was Christian Torres for LAFC, dual national as well. Went to a Mexican youth camp, but hasn't made up his mind yet who he's going to play for, and is learning from Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi. So only 17 years old. Very curious to see how much playing time he's going to get. Very technical, good dribbler, very good 1v1. Martel, I see you there. We will answer this question once we finish here, though. Okay. Who's your next one?
A player to watch out for that we talked about in the channel before. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm just going to watch out for him. He's young and he already had a good season with San Jose. It's Caden Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for him at least. Not my favorite type of player, but
yeah, I know what you mean. So Cowell, my issue with Cowell is he doesn't seem to be very technical, just sort of a bull in a china shop, but physically and athletically so gifted and so fast. But so from what I hear, sorry.
And so young still. He's very young. So yeah, I think he's 18 now, just turned 18 or is turning.
Yeah, he's very young. And from what I hear, he's been balling out in preseason. I haven't seen him in preseason, so I can't comment on that. But somebody said here he scored 4 goals. So we'll see. We'll see. With young players, it's hard to know. My next one is Anthony Fontana. Great player. Jim Curtin once said that, he reminded him of Clint Dempsey. And I remember Jim Curtin saying that and being like, what is he talking about? And then I watched Fontana play a lot last season. He actually had 8 goals and 5 assists last season as a 10. So I don't know why he didn't get more love or even a call-up at least. But he's right. He's not as good as Clint Dempsey, but he tries things, right? He's a technical player, and he does unexpected things with the ball at his feet, and that's what makes him good. So I'm going to be watching more of him this year. We saw him start against, I believe it was Saprissa that the Philly Union played. So he's my last option. I really like Moises Nyman from DC. I just don't know how much playing time he's going to get because he's so small. And in MLS, they tend to prioritize physically gifted athletes. So I hope he gets some playing time, another high ceiling kid, but I don't know how much he's going to play.
This is the last one, right? This is my last one. I just want to say 2 names real quick because they're players I'm just going to be watching, but my hopes on them is not that high. One is Ricardo. They're 2 Texas boys. So Ricardo Pepi from Dallas, if he does play, scored that last-minute goal to save Dallas last year. And the other player I want to watch out for, I don't know much about him, but I talked to some Austin people from Austin FC, and they spoke very highly of Dani Pereira. There was the number 1 draft pick. I don't know much about him, so I'm just going to be watching out for him. But these are the 2 players I wanted to finish up. Yeah,
exactly. Cool. Martel, guys, what's your verdict on the 3-4-3/4-5-1? So I think what he's saying is a 3-4-3 in possession that becomes a 4-5-1 defensively. I like it. I think it can work. A lot of it depends on, do you have the right personnel for it? It can work, but that transition from a 3-4-3 into a 4-5-1 has to be well drilled, or it can fall apart very quickly, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Well, it can work if done correctly, if properly. That was the stupidest thing I've ever said. It can work if done correctly. The thing is, it's whether Berhalter will be able to execute it with the team. And like we said, he's tried 3 defender formations, and it hasn't been going very well with him. But yeah, it's not the way we played the last game. We definitely didn't have 5 in the back when we were defending. So I don't think it's something we'll see.
No, I don't think we'll see it either. Ideally, in a 3-4-3, you'd have your back 3, say Long, Richards, Brooks, 2 midfielders, Adams and McKennie. Then you'd have Dest and Robinson as the wing backs. And then you would have a very narrow front 3. So you're talking about Pulisic, Reyna, and Sargent, but as a very narrow, tucked-in front 3. But they can also drift wide to combine with the fullbacks and create overloads on the wings, 2v1 overloads.
I don't like. Do you like also having the 2 attacking midfielders that are playing wide at that point at the 3-4-3, or the wingers pinching back much, coming back that much?
You mean Pulisic and Reyna?
Yeah, coming back that much, almost becoming midfielders.
I don't know. He's in a 3-4-3. They're playing as like center forwards, and the
but not
problem
at the
is
5-4-1. The 5-4-1, they would have to come back a lot.
yeah, they would have to come very
deep.
deep to defend. Right? No, that's true. I don't love that either. I also think that Reyna is a guy you want to hit your runners with. He's the guy who puts the ball through for your runners to run onto. He's not a guy who's going to run onto the ball. It's just not his instinct. That's Timmy Weah. You want, in my opinion, Reyna in midfield. Okay.
That formation that he's talking about too, where you shift in the middle of the game, also it's very used when you're playing counterattack, because you have everyone come back, you bring the team to your field, and then you counter. So I don't know if I'm not a big fan of counterattack. So
Costa Rica has used it very effectively for a long time. We're trying to get away from that counterattack. We're trying to be a possession team that dominates possession, that dominates the game. Mr. Chair, I love Pulisic in a second striker role with Sargent. So do I. I think both Fillipo and I have said this to death, but we would love to see a proper 3-5-2 try.
We said that, 2 months before Berhalter tried it?
Yeah. Well, he didn't even really try it. He went with this 3-4-2-1, 4 central midfielders, and then a forward who isn't going to stretch the back line. So we lacked penetration and balance. So, all right, Johnny, that's enough from you. I'm putting you in a timeout. All right.
What did Johnny do?
He said, I hate Pulisic. He's just trash talking, and we don't need that in here. So here's a fun one, and probably a couple more minutes, guys, and then I got to go. Jorge Villatoro. Thank you, Jorge. Rank the top 6 teams in CONCACAF in your opinion. This will be fun. So can we agree number 1 right now is probably Mexico?
Because they're at their prime, yes.
Yes, because they are in their prime and because they have the results to back up that ranking. We don't have those results yet. That could change very soon. Number 1, Mexico. Number 2, it's the U.S.
USA.
I mean, nobody else even comes close right now. But to those 2, okay? In my opinion, in your opinion, who's number 3? This is where it gets interesting.
Despite overly old, I'm going with Costa Rica.
In terms of proving, yes, they have proven where they're at, right? They have proven results. So, yeah, I can agree with you. That might not be the same a year from now. But right now, yeah.
And
the problem,
the thing is,
I don't.
Who has Jamaica got? I don't know who Jamaica has. That's the thing.
Yeah, we don't know who exactly is going to end up playing for them, so it's hard to say. I've said that I don't think Costa Rica is going to qualify for this World Cup. And I think teams that are aging are going to struggle in these World Cup qualifying because you have 3 games in 10 days. And that is a lot of games. And so if you have aging players, they're not going to be able to play well for all 3 of those games, and you're going to suffer some bad results. And the problem with Costa Rica is they don't have anybody coming up to replace their players they've relied on for so long. And with Jamaica and Canada becoming a threat, and with Honduras always a threat, I just think it's going to be difficult for Costa Rica to qualify for the World Cup this time. But I would give them 3rd right now. Who's 4th in your opinion?
I'm going to go with Jamaica because we do know a few players they already have. They have Liam Moore. They have Mikel Antonio. They have Leon Bailey. I think they got Ivan Toney. I think that's confirmed. Andre Blake's a great goalkeeper. I'm going with Jamaica as number 4 and fighting for that. And obviously, as you said about Costa Rica, Jamaica will likely take that 3rd spot. And if Jamaica gets all these players, they can be a big problem for the U.S. and Mexico and maybe even beat one of them.
Oh, yeah, especially at home. I'm going to go after 5th. I agree with you about that Jamaica is 4th. 5th, I'm going to go Honduras. I just think that they showed in the Olympic qualifiers, and they qualified. Didn't they qualify for the last World Cup? No, they didn't.
Honduras,
they didn't qualify.
Yeah. No, Honduras. It was Panama.
It was Panama, Costa Rica, and Mexico, right?
Honduras in 2014. 2014, Honduras qualified.
Yeah. But they finished above the U.S. in 2018 qualifying. Okay, so and I think they lost that 3rd place playoff, didn't they?
They lost. Didn't they lose in the interconfederate game? Wasn't that where they lost?
Possibly, yeah, in the playoff against the other teams, the other one. But yeah, I would go 5th Honduras, and then 6th I would go Canada right now.
What about they've been talking a lot about Suriname. For some reason, they're recruiting a bunch of Dutch Suriname. Actually, they're Suriname players. They're talking a lot about them. Yeah,
but they haven't proven anything yet. It's like it's great to recruit and have all these guys. honestly, I would put Curacao above Suriname. Curacao dominated the U.S. at the last Gold Cup and almost won. They lost 1-0, but they were really good. So
who do they have again? Who plays there?
They have a lot of like Dutch second division, first division players. One guy who plays for Aston Villa. They've got Elroy Room who plays for the Crew. So Curacao is still a good team. But I wouldn't put them ahead of Canada just yet. I would still put Canada. Now, Canada still has a lot to prove, guys. One good result at home against the U.S. in Nations League doesn't really do anything. Okay, you have to prove that you belong and you can compete regularly in CONCACAF. But right now, I'll give them 6th. All right. This has been fun, guys. I think I'm going to cut this out here.
I think you missed one, though, Pete. Didn't you miss one super chat? You missed one from American United Soccer.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. Sorry, dude. All right. Yeah, right. American Soccer United. Which young Americans are likely to get lots of playing time, almost starters this season? Some might be lower in the pecking order. Oh, it's unlimited, man. There's so many guys. Let's just go through the MLS teams real quick and answer this. Vancouver, nobody. Seattle, they don't really have any young Americans. You know, Portland, same problem. No young Americans, no real development. I don't consider Eric Williamson young, so or Ebo Bise to be young. I'm talking under 21 if you're young. San Jose, you got Cade Cowell. Other than that, not really that many. Yeah, Berman, I know they have Leyva and Atencio, but they didn't play them at all last season, and I can't see them playing them again. I know they're there, but I can't see them getting. We're talking about guys who get lots of playing time. Cade Cowell for San Jose. For LAFC, maybe Christian Torres. I don't think Tony Leone is a center back, so I don't think he's going to see the field that much. Eric Duenas, maybe. Huh?
LAFC's, they have more veterans to play, so I don't know if the young guys will get that many minutes there.
No. For LA Galaxy, you have Julian Araujo, you have Efra Alvarez. Jalen Neal is a possibility. They just signed him from their academy, but he's also a defender, so I don't know how much playing time he's actually going to get. That's sort of a wait-and-see situation. But Araujo and Alvarez, for sure. Dallas, endless guys. I mean, Jesus Ferreira, Tanner Tessman, Paxton Pomacall. You know, there's just so many from Dallas. Oh, yeah, Cam Dunbar on LA Galaxy as well. But I don't think he's going to get a ton of playing time, Josh. Houston, nobody. Maybe that they have that one midfielder who might be good, but I don't think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He played none last year. Burnman Cuevas isn't going to play because he's not been signed. Colorado, you've got Bassett, Vines. Sporting KC, you've got Busio, and you've got the other midfielder, James something. No, Cameron something.
No, Cameron Harper's at the Red Bulls.
Is at Red Bulls. It's a different Cameron Duke. Cameron Duke is the other guy, and then maybe
Busio is their lock-in starter there, and shouldn't be a problem.
Boy, there's a lot of MLS teams. I don't know. Atlanta, you've got Bello and Miles Robinson. But Robinson's already 22.
Robinson's 24, right? 23, 24?
23, 22, 23, yeah. Then we go further north. You've got Nashville, nobody. Chicago Fire, nobody. The Crew, you've got Aiden Morris, Abubakar Keita, maybe Sebastian.
You're not going to put Mauricio Pineda?
For Chicago Fire? He's already 23 years old. He's not young anymore. But yes, he'll probably play a lot. DC United, Kevin Paredes, Moises Nyman, maybe Griffin Yao's not that good. I don't think he's going to play that much. New York Red Bulls, you've got Frankie Amaya, who's, by the way, good transfer to get out of Cincinnati. Nobody. But Frankie Amaya did well to get out. He's going to be playing with Caden Clark in the Red Bulls midfield, so that's going to be a fun midfield to watch. NYCFC.
Cameron Harper came from the Celtic Academy.
Yeah. That is going to be good. All right, don't sleep on Red Bulls, man. That's going to be 3 good young players there. Cincinnati, nobody. NYCFC doesn't really have anybody right now that I think is going to get playing time. They have a few guys, but not enough.
Well, they got Chris Gloucester.
Yeah, but there's 2 left backs already there ahead of him. I don't think he's going to play that much. I mean, I would be very surprised, but I hope so. Dotson and Chase Gasper for MNUFC. Maple, they're not young. They're 23 years old.
They got Patrick Weah, too. They got Patrick Weah on
Patrick Weah at Minnesota. There you go. I can see that. Real Salt Lake, all their quote-unquote young guys are too old. Like, they're Justin Glad's age. Apart from Ochoa, obviously. Yeah, Ochoa. And then, trying to think. I haven't missed any teams.
Inter
New
Miami
England
and Orlando.
Revolution.
The Florida ones too.
Yeah, Orlando. Oh yeah, you cover Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando Perea. I'm not gonna say Chris Miller. He's 24. I would just say young guys. Literally just Perea. DK might be back. I don't. We don't know about that, but let's just say Perea for now.
Yeah, I forgot NYFC has James Sands. That's the only young guy I can see getting playing time.
Inter Miami just Ascona, right? I mean, there's no one else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. New England doesn't really give a chance to youth. Like they say youth, and then the guy's 22, 23. So that's not youth in my opinion. The Canadians, not really anybody, not a lot of Americans. Toronto mostly has young Canadians now. Maybe Akinola, if you count him as an American. So we'll wait and see. Yeah, that's it. It's going to be a fun season. There's a couple of young guys. If you want in-depth thoughts on this one, go watch my interviews with David Kerr, because he's the one who gives you in-depth insight into all of these guys. Very focused, very intense knowledge about the young players. This has been fun, guys. I got to get running here. Fillipo, thanks for coming to hang, dude. Guys, thanks for all your support. Gold Cup roster predictions coming out on Wednesday. Do you have a video you want to promote, Fillipo?
Well, they were talking about the MLS. We'd have the MLS preview we did already for the Eastern Conference. And then, Pete's on the Western Conference one.
Okay. The Western Conference.
He'll be talking about LAFC in that video. That will be out probably Wednesday. And that video, we will do the same. I'm going to cover every single team. There's different guests covering different teams. Pete will be the one that talks about LAFC.
Yeah. Cool. So, guys, have a great rest of your Sunday. And we'll talk to you all soon. Take care.